Hi, I'm Matthew Proctor, CEO and founder of Narrative Bent. We're a boutique content marketing agency. I've been doing SEO and content for over 17 years. I've worked with Fortune 500s. I've built in-house teams. So I figured I would pull a bunch of random questions from the internet about SEO, AI, and content and answer them on camera and see if I can help some people. Okay, this is a funny one. Are SEO agencies just making up numbers when they show traffic forecasts? I would argue that almost all forecasts are make-believe, but if it's a good agency, they at least can show you how they got to their numbers, right? They shouldn't be just pulling them out of thin air. There should be some logical expression of the forecast, right? And within that, you can have a basic forecast, which is look at a competitor, say, oh, if we got all of their traffic and then multiply it by some type of click-through rate, we could get this much traffic if we were to be successful. Our Series B board wants pipeline now. I've heard this a lot. Can SEO actually help fast enough? Look, it kind of depends on the maturity of your SEO program, right? If you've been doing it for a very long time, you have built out massive library of content, you're already ranking, there's definitely projects you could probably do that would change, and increase your pipeline in the next quarter. However, most Series B startups are not going to be in that situation. You're going to be starting from scratch here, and if you're starving for pipeline and starving for leads, I would say seek other channels that have a more direct tie. SEO is a long game. You're running an endurance sport. It's a marathon, it's an Ironman. You got to be thinking, investing in it for the long term. But it does have, the earlier you start, the more you're going to gain in the future. But yeah, don't starve yourself. Why isn't our blog generating leads even though our traffic is growing? Could be many reasons for this. The first thing I would say is set your expectations here. A blog is often not going to convert as well as a landing page or an ad that you might run, right? And so you got to temper your expectations for what the conversion rate of a blog post is going to be in the first place. Having said that, if your blog is generating a lot of traffic, but it's not really converting at all, you got to think about, are you publishing the right kind of content and are you attracting the right kind of people? So I would say start at the bottom of the funnel, think about your ideal customers. What are their challenges? What are their obstacles? What are their triggers that make them want to make a purchase? Make sure you're covering those topics on the blog and you're going to start to see your conversion rates go up, assuming you perform well and bring in the traffic. Is content supposed to directly drive revenue or is it just brand stuff? Look, content does a lot of things. It can play a massive role in the company, but it needs to drive revenue. If your content's not contributing to revenue, it is going to die. Nobody's going to continue to fund a content marketing initiative if it's not leading to attributable revenue. Having said that, really all you need from content in terms of producing revenue is to break even on your cost. And so if your cost of production is break even to your revenue from content, then you're actually getting a ton of additional brand value. And so what I generally strive for, especially in the early days of a content program, is how do we get to break even as fast as humanly possible so that we can continue to survive the long game in content. Here's a really tactical question for you. What percentage of our content should be bottom funnel versus mid funnel versus top funnel? You want to start with the bottom of the funnel first and work your way up from there. So if you're looking at how to prioritize your content calendar, if you haven't covered all of your bases, and specifically if we're talking about website content here, if you don't have case studies or services pages or really high converting landing pages that hit those kind of bottom of funnel challenges that they're facing, that's where you need to spend your time. Then move up the funnel from there if you're targeting more and higher search volume and trying to get more impressions and traffic. There's no perfect percentage, but that's generally how we would approach it at Narrative Bend. If you're on social media though, generally what I try to do is I try to lean kind of heavy on the mid funnel, where I'll do, just as for the sake of argument, let's say it's 60% mid funnel content and then like 20% top of funnel and 20% bottom of funnel. If you can kind of do that sort of nice split, you'll likely see some success. What realistically drives more pipeline in B2B sales, SEO or LinkedIn? Both can be pretty effective if you have the right team in place and you have the right strategies in place, right? So both are pretty effective, but I would say if you're really trying to drive pipeline, SEO is going to be your safest bet, mainly because you're going to attract people to your product and to your services when exactly they are ready to buy, as opposed to on LinkedIn, the intent of LinkedIn is they're like on there looking for jobs, or they're trying to sell something themselves, and they're, or trying to do some networking. They're not necessarily seeking an answer to a problem that they have immediately. And so if you're really looking to drive a lot of pipeline, SEO is going to be your safest bet. But if you do LinkedIn right, it can also be an extremely powerful tool. What metrics should we actually track if traffic doesn't matter anymore? Okay, so AI has come in, and it's not just AI's fault, but the general trend has been that the major platforms that have everyone's attention, right? So Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever, they have significantly reduced the number of clicks going out into the open web. Google sends the majority of clicks out. I think it's like 70% of clicks out to the open web. But even that has dramatically been reduced since they launched their AI overviews, and they've been kind of like cluttering up the search results page. So traffic is down, and it's going to be a lot harder to acquire traffic. But I wouldn't say traffic doesn't matter. Traffic that didn't drive revenue arguably never mattered, but it was nice to have. You could show that you're building this brand reputation, you're able to soft sell people, you're able to like have more brand name recognition. You can get those same things on the platforms themselves. So I would start tracking, first and foremost, if we're looking at metrics, leads and revenue. Are you actually influencing the pipeline of your sales team with the content you're producing? Like, full stop. Those are your most important metrics. Moving up from there, clicks and impressions, largely from search, right? Then moving up from there, now we're talking about brand. You're not going to be driving a lot of clicks to your website from Facebook or YouTube or whatever. And so what you need to be tracking over there are engagement metrics. Views, comments, reactions, followers, subscribers, even though those are a little bit less useful these days given the way the algorithms work. But those are kind of how I would think about it. Always try to bring it down to leads and revenue at the end of the day. Remember, traffic still matters. It's going to be harder to get. Should our CEO, this is a very fun question for me because I'm doing it myself. Should our CEO be creating content, or will they just hate it? Now look, I empathize with all the CEOs out there. Putting your face on the internet, putting yourself out there like I'm doing right now, it's hard. It sucks. It's not the most comfortable thing. And, it's easy not to prioritize it. There's a lot of other things a CEO can be doing with their time. However, I do think it is a very valuable use of time and can contribute quite a bit to your marketing effort if you can actually get your CEO to participate. Now, that's the key word there. I mean, they are definitely going to hate it unless you have kind of a magical CEO like an Alex Hormozy or a Gary Vaynerchuk who naturally is great on camera and great speaking. They're extroverted and they love being out there, and they also understand the value of doing any of this sort of promotion. Most CEOs just aren't like that, and so you have to work hard to manage up. You're going to have a very rigorous structure in place. You're going to have to make sure you are minimizing the amount of time they have to spend on any of this content. And you're going to have to really show as much as possible that the work that they are doing is tying directly to your larger strategic goals as a company. But yes, I would say every CEO, if they can do it, they should be creating content. It's going to help. Social media is a personality-driven medium. The algorithms love to see people's faces, and a CEO is generally at the company for a much longer period of time than any other spokesperson might be. And so they should be creating it, but you do need to assume they will hate it.